Iron! Forward! Take the lead! For the Order! For the Alliance!
4 years after World of Warcraft launched, Blizzard's phenomenally successful MMO has its second expansion pack. Wrath of the Lich King doesn't boast as many back-of-the-box bullet points as the Burning Crusade expansion did almost 2 years ago, but it's every bit as impressive, and if you're still playing WoW or looking for an excuse to get back into it, you need look no further. On the other hand, if you're late to the WoW party and wondering if now is a good time to start playing, Wrath of the Lich King doesn't have nearly enough new content for new players for it to be a factor in your decision. Where Burning Crusade catered to newcomers with the introduction of 2 new playable races, Lich King's only comparable feature is the Death Knight hero class.
Knights of darkness, wielding runes of death and destruction, bound by the will of the Lich King. This is the hour of their ascension. This is the hour of your dark rebirth.
There's an interesting backstory to the Death Knights that you'll get to experience firsthand when you play through their unique starting area. But since they start at level 55, you need to already have a level 55 character under your belt before you're allowed to play as one. In keeping with the fact that Death Knights are a hero class, they're really powerful, and they play very differently to any other class in the game. For starters, Death Knight's abilities aren't powered by mana or energy, but by a series of 6 runes. That's 2 runes each for abilities from the Frost, Unholy, and Blood talent trees. Like other classes in WoW, how your Death Knight plays depends a lot on where you choose to spend the talent points you earn every time you level.
Arthas!
What is this?
By the time you finish the Death Knight starter area, located near the eastern plaguelands of the original game, you'll have a character at level 58 or so, fully kitted out in great looking rare or blue gear, with a free epic mount. You'll need to gain another 10 levels before you can quest in the new continent of Northrend though, so at some point you're going to have to play through Burning Crusade content that you've probably seen before, and inevitably you're going to end up upgrading your cool looking Death Knight armor with the same generic stuff that warriors and paladins were wearing 2 years ago. That's a real anticlimax after playing through the great Death Knight starter area, but at least it affords you plenty of opportunity to learn the new class. At level 68, you can catch a boat from one of the world's recently refurbished harbours to Northrend. Which boat you take will determine which of the continent's 2 starting regions your new adventure begins in. There's the picturesque Howling Fjord, where half-giant warriors known as Vrykul are attacking Alliance and Horde settlements, or there's the Borean Tundra, where raiding parties are attacking the villages of the walrus-like Tuskar, and an environmental group is enlisting the help of heroes for its war with the numerous hunters and trappers who are threatening local wildlife. Regardless of which region you choose to start in, it will quickly become apparent that some considerable effort has gone into making quests more interesting and varied this time around. There are still plenty of fetch quests, of course, and there are plenty of characters who will pay you good money to kill a dozen of whatever species or faction they have a beef with. But in amongst those quests are a lot of far more interesting ones that not only give you different things to do, but also immerse you in the world's lore along the way. Perhaps the most obvious examples of new quest types are those in which you take the controls of a mount or vehicle. These include dragons, tanks, mammoths, aeroplanes, bipedal machines, and even a giant. The controls for these mounts and vehicles are all different, but they're never complicated, and as soon as you take the controls, the game's HUD changes to clearly display which buttons you need to use for offensive and defensive abilities. Like the vast majority of quests in Wrath of the Lich King, the vehicular ones aren't particularly challenging, but they're a lot of fun, and in some cases they prepare you for the new PvP battlegrounds in which siege weapons are used to destroy enemy fortifications. One of those battlegrounds is the region of Wintergrass, an entire zone where, once every few hours, the Horde and the Alliance fight for control of a large fortress in an attack and defense scenario that can comfortably accommodate hundreds of players simultaneously, even if the numbers rarely get close to that right now. The winning faction gains control of the fortress for the 2.5 hours before the next battle, and for that time they gain exclusive access to vendors with rare items to trade, to a currency dropped by dungeon bosses, and to a small raid dungeon located inside the fortress itself. These things all add up to give players plenty of incentive to participate in the PvP scenario, though though really the fact that it's a lot of fun should be reason enough for anyone. Dungeons are also a lot of fun in Wrath of the Lich King, and this time around they've been designed in such a way that they can be enjoyed by just about any player with a pulse. The majority of the expansion's new dungeons are designed for groups of just 5 players, and regardless of the fact that they contain 3 or 4 boss encounters each, they can be completed in under an hour. At level 80 you have the option to play through those same dungeons on a heroic difficulty setting that makes enemies far more challenging, but with a good group you'll still have little difficulty getting through them. Now, if you're a veteran raider from a guild that has no problem getting 25 or more skilled players together to play through much larger and more difficult dungeons, you might be wondering if Wrath of the Lich King has anything for you. The answer is yes. In addition to 25-man raids that will likely take you several hours to get through, there are now Xbox Live style achievements to unlock by completing dungeons in particularly challenging ways. For example, there are achievements for defeating certain bosses without first clearing out the smaller enemies in the vicinity. And at least one of those achievements comes with a tangible reward in the form of an exclusive flying mount. There's a lot more to talk about in Wrath of the Lich King, but really, the best way for you to hear about it is just for you to experience it for yourself. Our written review covers some aspects of the game in greater detail, but if all you're looking for is a recommendation as to whether or not you should pay Northrend a visit, the simple answer is yes.
Targar! For the Horde! I was wondering if you'd show up.
I couldn't let the Alliance have all the fun today.